Bonjour! Welcome back to the GUGLIELMOCLOTHINGUK YouTube channel after what feels like forever. Absolutely forever. My name is Emil. We've had another international break. Going to give you my little roundup because we've had plenty out on duty from United, and it's always nice to have a presence in these little breaks just to show the world what we've got despite the lack of names in that successful England team, which are doing very well at the start of the European qualifiers. Elsewhere, our stars were shining, starting with the indestructible Big Plus himself, Mr. Fabian Schär. There he is right there. He's also there, and that we'll get on to. We'll get on to it right now. He was knocked unconscious for 4 minutes. What the hell are you doing to us, Fabian, man? Never mind. He was on the pitch. He was down. He was like that. And everyone's seen the pictures. This was against Georgia after 24 minutes in Tbilisi on Saturday. Caused a huge uproar, rightly so, over players' safety in these things. And that came from Alan Shearer himself, who, of course, did that brilliant documentary on head injuries in football. However, it was a bit like Lascelles and Diarme. Something worked. He made a remarkable recovery. He played the part in both goals that helped Switzerland win 2-0 in their first European qualifier ahead of the 2020 campaign. One of his trademark balls from the back, if you've seen the highlights, it went right over to the two at the front for Switzerland, who then obviously broke through and got one of the goals in. And the other one was one of his blistering runs where he kind of breaks in to the Georgian defence, who didn't look great, to be fair, but then again, Georgia never have. FIFA sadly forced him to sit out the second game due to that injury when he was down and out in the first game, so he couldn't play in the game against Denmark, which Switzerland were looking brilliant in. Switzerland actually just looking very strong. Obviously they're in the finals of the Nations League, but I think that they're a decent attacking side. They were leading 3-0 against Denmark at home until the final 6 minutes, when it was 3-3, final score. I don't know what happened, but maybe Fabian should have been on the pitch. Who knows, it could have saved it. It leaves them second in their group, but I'll be honest, I think Switzerland looks strong enough to qualify from that one. Staying on European soil, but not with European teams. Yes, South Americans came to battle it out in Madrid in Spain. Salomon Rondon starring for Venezuela in a historic 3-1 win against Argentina. This was a Copa America warm-up friendly, because that's happening later in the year. And Rondon got the first goal. Great goal in the opening 5 minutes. He showed a lot of the composure that we've seen as he's been playing for Newcastle in that great run of form he's had, and he put it down to that current Newcastle form. He earned his 22nd international goal for Venezuela, and he is now one off the all-time Venezuelan record for scoring. So what more could you ask for from our striker? Even better, he sat on the bench for their second game, which was an unofficial friendly against Catalonia. Catalonia obviously have a football team, offshoot from Spanish, because they all want independence and all that. They were led by Gerard Piqué, who's retired from Spanish football, but they lost, sadly, Venezuela. Lost 2-1. Rondon was on the bench, but he's fit, he's happy. I don't really care what went on with the Venezuelan team. However, Rondon did say that he wants to provide a bit of light relief from a lot of the political turmoil and stuff that's going on in Venezuela. Some horrible stuff happening right now. So Rondon will be pleased to be returning to a very stable British political scene right now, won't he? Yes, topical. We do Saturday now on the GUGLIELMOCLOTHINGUK YouTube channel. Next, our home nation's representative, Mr. Paul Dummett, blocking him out the picture there. Sorry, mate, with your wonderful hair. However, he was kind of blocked out of the picture by Ryan Giggs. He did have his third start for Wales. 61 minutes he played against Trinidad and Tobago. As you can tell, that was a friendly, where Wales won 1-0 in the late stages of that game. He played a centre-back role. He was up with Ashley Williams in this one, and the Welsh fans were impressed at how he adapted to that role. He took to the position quite well. Obviously, we know that he can do that centre-back role, so a lot of Welsh fans saying, you know what, we'd like to see more of that from Dummett. It was quite good, and well, sadly it wasn't good enough to start in the first Welsh qualifier, where they went on to beat Martin Dubravka's Slovakia 1-0. Wales off to a very good start against some key group rivals there. They've got Croatia in that group. Slovakia, I would say, are Wales' main rivals for that second spot, and obviously Wales will be looking to do what they did in the last European Championships, which is qualify and go quite far, because they've got more spaces in that competition now, which is always good. Obviously, Dummett came out of the break unscathed in this one, and that is better than what happened last time where he was injured for a while. Only good news for United, so we crack on. As we just mentioned there, you probably realise that means our goalkeeper couldn't stop Wales in goal for Slovakia, Martin Dubravka. He started the break quite well, though. There was a clean sheet in Slovakia's opening Euro qualifier in Trnava on last Thursday. Slovakia won 2-0 against Hungary. It wasn't really a busy game for Dubravka, but from what I saw in the highlights, there were some solid saves that we're used to seeing from him when he's tested. A couple of close range chances as well, which he dealt with quite well. So, you know, that's always good to see. A little bit of action for Dubravka. However, not so good in Cardiff on Sunday. Wales won 1-0. Dubravka was beaten in the opening 5 minutes. A brilliant shot from Dan Jones from Wales. And if you saw the highlights, the defence let him down with a mistake. Dan James, not Dan Jones, sorry, everyone's called Jones apparently in Wales. Dan James, he broke through the Slovakian defence and just took that ball off the defender and then went thump into the goal. Otherwise, there was a decent save from a Harry Wilson shot, which they managed to get away in the second half of that one. As I mentioned, it's already a tight group in there. Wales, Croatia and Hungary alongside Slovakia, all sitting on 3 points. So it'll be interesting to see how that group develops. But, you know, it'll be nice to see Dubravka get to the European Championships. On to our latest addition in Newcastle's international list, one that's not been there before. That is, of course, the man we're all talking about, Miguel Almiron. He played both games for Paraguay, and he was back on familiar territory. He was in the USA for more Copa America warm-up matches. His first one was a 1-0 loss to Peru on Saturday. That doesn't sound great, does it? But, you know, Peruvians, they're decent now. He was in New Jersey, and like Newcastle, he still awaits his first goal for his home nation. He's always trying. Paraguay were undone by a brilliant goal from Peru. I managed to catch the highlights. That was after 4 minutes. Loads of early goals flying around in this international break for our Newcastle representatives. And Almiron, he did show some great glimpses of that pace that we've seen in recent weeks. He managed to break through Peru. He nearly set them up for an equaliser, Paraguay. And he was also involved in set plays, took a lot of free kicks, corners. It'll be interesting to see if he starts doing that for Newcastle in the future, if Benitez is going to trust him with that. Sadly, the international break was tarnished. You might have seen this. You probably have seen it. Everyone's talking about it, including the Mackhams, saying how much of a bastard he is. He was sent off. He was sent off, a red card in the second friendly in Santa Clara at the Levi Stadium against Mexico, who are a tough side, to be fair. Almiron didn't start the game. He came off the bench, which makes it sound even more ridiculous. Paraguay were 3-0 down, and he actually quickly helped get a goal back, a nice 1-2-3 attack to break through Mexico. The game finished 4-2, though, and Almiron wasn't there to see it. A late challenge from him led to a straight red. The referee was given no choice, really. His high foot caught the back of Mexico's Vasquez's knee. There was no malice intended. His coach was quick to come out and say, look, I'm sure he didn't mean to hurt him. It's not what he's like. Almiron's only had a couple of reds in his career, in fact. One for club, I think, and maybe another for country. I'm not sure. There was one where it was mentioned that he'd had 2 yellows in the past, but like it matters. You know, every player has a bad day. This again was preparations for the Copa America. Paraguay going to be playing Argentina, Colombia, and for some reason Qatar in the Copa America. Apparently it's like a guest entry, like Australia in Eurovision or something like that. Now, the red card obviously doesn't really affect Newcastle. He's not going to miss our games, so it could be a blessing in disguise if he perhaps misses one in the next international break, although I'm not sure when that is. I think June comes and then the Copa America starts, so season will be over by then. As a side note, while we're speaking about Almiron, if you haven't seen it yet on the channel, I was lucky enough to speak to Elliot Holman from the MLS UK show to have a little breakdown of Almiron's first few games as a Newcastle player. Really interesting chat to see what that transition was like from Atlanta United in the MLS to the Premier League, and just general a lot of information on the MLS and what the future holds for that league, especially with United States hosting the World Cup in a few years to come. Now, over to Africa. Christian Atsu made one appearance for Ghana in the group decider in the African Cup of Nations. This was his qualifying group on Saturday. I mentioned this in the last international roundup. It was between them and Kenya, who Ghana went on to beat 1-0, and that was a late winner. So they finished top of their group. They're into the African Cup of Nations. Atsu got a man-of-the-match performance with this one. Showed some really good skill, but as we know all too well, a bit of a weak final ball a lot of the time. He set up his other players quite a lot, but they only managed to score 1 goal late on. But, you know, Atsu was beating his man, some nice 1-2s, and the African Cup of Nations is in the summer, so no clashes with Ghana. The Black Stars qualified in their capital of Accra, and Atsu was straight home to Tyneside after a very decent showing. Last but not least, DeAndre Yedlin. Now, he featured twice for the United States. They enjoyed a decent couple of friendlies, actually. The USA beat Ecuador 1-0. Yedlin, though, he only featured for the final 22 minutes or so as a right winger. He wasn't able to contribute much to the win, even though the goal actually came in those final few moments. The US manager was actually trying something out. He played a young Tyler Adams, who's about 20-year-old. He plays for RB Leipzig, Red Bull Leipzig, at right back. He was playing there, and it was a shame. But if Yedlin's role for the United States was ever in doubt, it was kind of quashed in the second game against Chile. Yedlin led his country out as captain against Chile. That's pretty good going. His first ever outing as captain. It was a 1-1 draw on Tuesday night, and he was restored to his natural position with a very good defensive display, I hear. And that was against a very dominant Chile. They had 67% possession. The USA only managed one shot on target that entire game, which was their goal, and that came in the first 4 minutes. So Chile equalised in the next 5, and then the USA were kind of under attack, under siege, Yedlin was, for the remaining 81 minutes, which obviously they didn't concede in, so it can only be good news. It was a proud night for Yedlin. He captained them for the first time, like I said, and you know, a lot of people saying that Yedlin could maybe be the future captain of his country if he keeps impressing in the Premier League. Captain America at your service there. Now, it's not long until Newcastle United return for the final act of this season. It's getting tense, the business end. It's a trip to Arsenal on April Fool's Day, Monday Night Football, the 1st of April, so it'll feel like the international break's kind of been going on for a little bit longer than we'd like, more than necessary. But it's a vital home game against Palace after that. Thank you for subscribing to the channel as always. Please like the videos if you like them, dislike them if you really don't, but then don't watch any more because you're clearly not wanted here. It was the international break. No black and white shirts this week. That's just an Italy top who we don't have any players for, so I might have to get a Paraguay shirt or something like that. The Always Smiling Faces podcast is coming back to warm up, dissect. Aaron's got his FIFA predictions. Andy's got the away say. He's going to be speaking to some Arsenal fans soon. And hopefully I will have some positive player ratings after both games. Fingers crossed. Do check out that breakdown of the Almiron video in the meantime, though, so it feels like I've contributed something. Away the lads. Back soon.